Hello again and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be ranking Milan roses, and there's a lot of S rankings incoming when it comes to Milan roses because they have a lot of scent. But let's go ahead and check it all out. And we'll go to our tier list here. The first one on our tier list is Delish. Delish is also called Sweet Perfume de Provence. And I also believe she's called Line Renault. You'll have to apologize, there's so many names for the same rose in the rose world that it's sometimes just a little bit crazy, so stick with me here. But we'll go with the name Delish from now on, or you can call her Sweet Perfume de Provence. I actually believe that's probably the best name for her. But I'll instantly place this one into an S tier. It's a healthy rose, cold resistant, very fragrant. It's honestly one of the most fragrant roses you can get. It's a wonderful rose and it's well above a 9 out of 10 for me. So, and what I also like about it is that there's a bit of color in it, from like a cooler temperature to a more reddish temperature towards the center. It's a really wonderful rose, and definitely an S ranking for Milan here. Next up you have Leonardo da Vinci, and this is a wonderful rose for many reasons, not really for scent. It's really healthy, has no issues with health whatsoever, and it's also really floriferous. Like, it's constantly, well, I wouldn't say constantly in bloom, but it's one of the most blooming roses you can get. It has a tendency to create these huge flushes where the entire bush is just covered in blooms, and then it waits a bit. And then it comes another huge flush where the rose is just covered in blooms. And they will often do that 3 to 4 times. So if you're looking for a very floriferous and healthy rose, Leonardo da Vinci should definitely be the one you should look out for. But because it doesn't really have as strong a fragrance, I'm going to place this into A tier. It's not a whole package. Next up we have Black Baccara. Black Baccara is a wonderful rose. It's one of the more black-red roses you can use for cutting. I would probably have to place this one. It's a tough one because not really a lot of the black roses are healthy. And Black Baccara is kind of similar. You have Black Magic, Black Baccara, a lot of these black red roses. They're not that healthy and they often only give you a few blooms per season, but it's a difficult one because unique color, very wonderful when you finally get a rose, but not a lot of repeat bloom and not that healthy. So I think it's difficult. It should probably be here, but we're going to place it into B tier for now. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful rose to have, but it's not, and it'll really steal your attention when it finally blooms. Like, let's go ahead here and look it up. Yeah, you can probably see it here. Really romantic looking rose. I really like it when it's in bloom. I constantly take pictures of it when it's bloom. But it's one of those where you don't get a lot of blooms and it can also be a bit unhealthy. It's not the most prolific bloomer. So it is definitely worth having in your garden. But you should place it somewhere where it's not the main focal point. Somewhere where it can be allowed to bloom in its own tempo. But let's go back here to our tier list. Next one is Princess Shellen de Monaco. Oh, if you have followed this channel for a while, you'll know I absolutely love Princess Shellen de Monaco. She has everything, the special look, the 9 out of 10 scent, very healthy, very frost resistant. she's an extremely frost-resistant rose compared to being a French rose. So Delish and Princess Shellen de Monaco, you really can't go wrong with those two. Another thing I really like about Princess Shellen de Monaco is how she has these fringes on the edges of her petals, and also the color change in her. She has a lot of colors in her, and she's a wonderful rose. She has this translucent quality to it. It's kind of like if you ever watched Chandel's Beauty. Chandel's Beauty is a really beautiful rose also because of its translucent color. Princess Shellen de Monaco is nearly even more perfect because she has more colors. She has these fringed edges. She's just a wonderful rose, really. Next up, we have Eden Rose. Oh, Eden Rose. Now you have to bear with me again because Eden Rose is called Eden Rose 88 because it's the year it launched. It's also just called Eden Rose. In some countries it's called Villestrup. In other countries it's called Pierre de Ronsard. So, you know, you just have to remember a lot of names in the rose world. But Eden Rose, even though she's not fragrant, she still got an S ranking for me because she has this really unique look where she has a little bit of lime green that turns to white in the outer petals, that then turns to this more pink color. And this lime green up against the white and pink, it simply looks so wonderful. It looks kind of like a marzipan wedding rose all rolled into one. It's a wonderful rose. And even though it's not fragrant, it's really healthy, and the blooms last for so long. They can sometimes, on my bush, that's my climber that's around 9 years now, they sometimes last for 4 weeks. And last December, my Eden Rose was still trying to bloom even in Scandinavian weather. So quite healthy rose, quite unique look, a wonderful rose. Now you can get the Eden Rose also in a white version, a red version. The white version is called something with palais, and the red version is something called tapalé. What I noticed about the Eden Roses are the blooms last a long time. They don't have a lot of fragrance. But if you have to choose one Eden Rose, in my opinion, it should be the original Eden Rose 88. Pierre de Ronsard, Villestrup. Just Eden, call it what you want. It's a wonderful rose and should definitely be in your rose garden. Next up, you have Bonka. Bonka, extremely healthy, extremely floriferous, a very low-growing shrub. It's wonderful if you have an area you just want to keep low maintenance and keep the weeds and stuff like that out. Like if you had a communal area, a public area, this is a really good rose for just being constant bloom and being very low maintenance. It's a wonderful rose for that reason. And if you just like constant flowers, floriferous plant, then Bonka is the rose for you. Not a lot of fragrance though, but a wonderful rose. It kind of reminds me of the what I call the fairy roses. The fairy roses are also really prolific and makes these low-growing shrubs. And the thing with Bonka is Bonka has a bit larger flower, but it has some of the same characteristics. Next up, we have Jean Moreau. And the Jean Moreau is a really good white rose, really fragrant, really low growing. I'm just going to find a rose that really is her sibling, and that is Pierre Arditi. Pierre Arditi is also a really fragrant, really good, pure white rose with the most wonderful, both of them have the most wonderful flower form. If I had to say what separates them, it's Pierre Arditi is more for cut flowers, while Jean Moreau is more compact, more low-growing, better for the front of the garden and for most gardens, while Pierre Arditi is more rose you grow in the back of your garden and more for cut flowers. But they're both wonderful. Pierre Arditi, the more tall rose used for cut flowering, and both wonderful roses, both wonderful fragrance. The thing you do want to remember with these are they can be a bit more cold sensitive, like You really want to protect these already at -10, and at -15 you really want to look after, and at -20 you're in difficulty. Let me say it like that, but totally worth growing because there's not a lot of really good white roses. If you had to go with one, I would say Chanmoro is the better one to go with, but they're both really good. But, as again said, not as cold hardy as these three over here, Delish, Princess Celine, Monaco, and Eden Rose. Next up, we have Francis Milan. Francis Milan is another S tier for me. Francis Milan is also called Prince Chardonnay. So, wonderful fragrance again. It's kind of like Princess Celine de Monaco. A taller rose, wonderful fragrance, a really nice color play. In my opinion, Princess Celine de Monaco is still the better rose, but Francis Milan is simply such a good rose. And it's also a bit more hardy than Chamorro and Pierre Arditi, so you shouldn't be as worried about this one as the other two. Wonderful fragrance, a 9 out of 10 for me also. Next up, we have Yves Piché. Oh, sorry, Yves Piaget, if I can pronounce it. It's something sometimes hard switching between all these languages. If we look just at fragrance, she's an S tier. Wonderful fragrance again. If you look at health, she can be a bit more vulnerable and a bit more difficult. But again, if I had to say the same would be true of Chamorro and Pierre Arditi. But just as long as you know that about these three roses, you need to be a bit more careful. But a wonderful fragrance on all three, and that's why I rank them highly. Next up, we have Red Parfume de Provence. Red Parfume de Provence is an instant S tier for me. Very low, beautiful, growing rose, tea rose. Wonderful fragrance. It's just a marvelous rose. I also believed Austin once called it one of the best red roses in the world, and I really agree about that. It's from the same series as Delish. Delish, as you remember, Sweet Parfume de Provence, and this one, Red Parfume de Provence. And Chanmero is also sometimes called White Parfume de Provence. So you see how this can get very confusing, but bear with me. It is that way with a lot of roses. Next up, we have Po. I just have to remember the name of the Orient Express. Yeah, Orient Express is a wonderful rose. It's been actually surprisingly healthy for me. Not a lot of fragrance. Surprisingly healthy. Blooms a lot. It has a unique color with these petals. Yeah, Pullman Orient Express is a. It's a decent rose. I think Black Baccara and it belong side by side. They're good for a unique look, but they don't excel in much else except their unique look. So next up we have Marco Polo. Marco Polo is an A ranking for me, I would say. It's unique in the way you have a yellow rose that has a decent fragrance. What I don't like about it is it gets a bit taller, a bit more leggy, and yeah, it's more the form of it I don't always like. Polka is another really good rose if you want this peachy, more apricot climber in your garden. Not a lot of fragrance, but a really good climber for this peachy apricot color. So maybe... yeah, it should be a really good climber if you want that. Another one is the Tanta Rose. I said before, like there's a Tanta Rose, I believe. I can't remember right now if it's Tanta or called. There's a German rose called Peach Melba that has some of the similar color. Next up, we have Papa Milan and the improved version here, Jubilé Papa Milan. A wonderful red rose, one of the most beautiful in my opinion, and really fragrant. Not always as healthy as Red Parfume de Provence, but it definitely belongs in your collection. But we'll put it over here alongside Chamorro, Jubilé, Papa Milan, and Pierre Arditi. They're both really wonderful, really fragrant, and really beautiful roses. You just have to be a little careful of the cold. The same with USPC. All these four are worth growing. Just be careful with the cold. But if you're in a warm climate, you probably have no issues whatsoever. So it's only me here in the Scandinavian climate. And next we have Astronomer, and it's a really good single flower rose, kind of like you know, in the Austin Sodman you have Kew Gardens and you have Tottering by Gently. But let's go ahead here and show it to you. Yeah, you can probably see why it's a good single flower. Just look at here in the foreground. Really good single flower. I also sometimes seen some people grow it as a standard tree rose, but it's good for if you have a bed like a pink bed or white bed, and if you want to add a bit of lightness to it with a simple bush plant that doesn't grow insanely tall, you can definitely use this one for that. But again, not a lot of fragrance, but it is quite healthy though, decently healthy. So we're again stuck between the A and B tier in my opinion, but we're placing it into B tier, I think, because yeah, it has a unique look, of course, but I think that's the same with these two. They have their unique look and not much else. Next up will probably be an unpopular opinion, but Iconic is one I'll have to place into C tier. It's still alive in my garden. It's still it hasn't frozen down. But what I really don't like about Iconic is you have no scent, and it doesn't give me a lot of blooms, to be honest. I'm lucky if I see it bloom once in a season, or maybe even twice if I'm really lucky. But it's still alive and it's still growing, but it hasn't given me a lot of blooms. Next up, you have Eddie Mitchell. The unique thing about Eddie Mitchell is kind of the same thing as Black Baccara. You have a rose that has these really dark leaves, but then it kind of has this color change on the backside where it's more mustard colored or more brownish colored, creating a really unique, powerful effect for you. But what I don't like about it is it's not always as cold hardy and not always as healthy. It's a bit more healthy than Black Baccara, about the same in health as Pullman Orient Express, but it has a really unique look that makes it worth growing. I'll go ahead here and show you. Yeah, you can probably see here the unique look with these petals. And it's a wonderful effect if you combine it with all red roses. And I also think Milan did another rose called Bolshoi. That might actually be a predecessor of this one, I don't really know. That has some of the same effect. But it's a bit more fragrant, but not really as pronounced in the effect. But yeah, I think I'm pretty happy placing it into a B tier. It has a wonderful effect to how the colors are on the rose and how it blooms. But except that, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy there. Next up is Colette. Oh, Colette is a difficult one for me to place. It has a bit of fragrance, but it's not the rose you get for fragrance. It has a lot of small blooms. It's really prolific. It's a wonderful, healthy climber. It's one of the most healthy, prolific climbers you can get, and a wonderful, tightly packed flowers. Yeah, it's either an A or an S tier for me. Considering we made an exception for Eden Rose, I think I'll make an exception for Colette as well. These two are not fragrant, but they're well worth growing in their own right as prolific bloomers and really healthy roses with a unique look. Next up, we have Alba medelan and Alba rose. Alba medelan is more of a low-grown shrub rose. What I don't like about it is it can sometimes shoot out with a bit of more longer canes. Not a lot of fragrance. Does a lot of blooms though, but what I don't like about it as much as the shrub shape of it. It doesn't really make as nice of a round shape as a lot of the alternatives on the market. But still healthy, still a lot of blooms, still a wonderful rose, but I don't like the shape of it. Next up, you have Acropolis. Acropolis is it's a difficult one because nothing looks like Acropolis. Nothing even come close to looking like Acropolis. But it's one of those looks that kind of like how do you say it? Splits people's opinion, splits the waters. Because it's not your typical look of beauty, but it is certainly very unique. I'm in a bit of a doubt between A and B tier here. I think I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and place it into A tier because it is a very unique rose. Let's go over here to a browser and view Acropolis. Yeah, you can probably see this really unique effect I'm talking about. Not a lot of roses look like that. Really unique effect. It's a healthy rose, it's a good rose, but if you like the look of it, that is something you will have to determine for yourself. And let's go back to our tier list here again. Next is Sepetti. Sepetti is a really good low-growing red rose. If you need something in the foreground of a bed where you can't grow much else because of height, or where you want something that's really low, around 40 centimeters, Sepetti is a wonderful rose for that. Yeah, where to place it? I think I'll place it into. Yeah, I think we'll go. Well, I like the shape of it more than Alba Medelan, and it's also okay healthy. We'll raise it to A tier. Next up, you have L. L is another part of the Perfume de Provence series. What I like about L is she has more of a good shape than a lot of the others from of the older roses from the Perfume de Provence series. A lot of the Perfume de Provence series roses have a really good fragrance, but not all of them are as cold hardy or as beautiful in the shape. Some of them can get quite tall. And L is one of the ones that get a more beautiful shape than the others. You also have Andre Leonardo and you have the McCartney rose. Both of these grow quite tall. They have a really strong, powerful fragrance, above 8 out of 10. But the winter hardiness and also the, I would say the look of the shrub suffers a bit from these two. Instead, I would recommend you grow something like Francis Milan and Princess Shellen de Monaco and a lot of the more modern and better alternatives. But they are really prolific bloomers, and if you live in a warm country and just want roses with powerful fragrance, these could easily be expanded into your repertoire. I just believe time has, well, I wouldn't say it has made them obsolete, but I just think there's so many good fragrant roses in the assortment of Milan. Next up, we have Bolero, and Bolero is another S tier, wonderful, healthy, fragrant rose. You can grow in a lot of countries. Very powerful fragrance, also a bit more healthy than Jean Moreau and Pierre Arditi, but yeah, really wonderful white rose, a little more cup shaped, but a wonderful rose, white rose to grow. Next up, we have Sweet Mademoiselle. Again, really wonderful, really fragrant, really healthy rose. An instant S tier also. A really wonderful rose. And that's again why I say something like Andrea Leonardo and the Paul McCartney rose. It's not that they're obsolete, it's just that you have so many good roses now in the assortment with Milan, especially when it comes to fragrance. That you don't lack anything to choose from in Milan when it comes to fragrance. It's probably one of the most widest and broadest assortment of fragrance among rose breeders, so a really good assortment for fragrance. Next up, we have Julia Iglesias, and yeah, this is another B tier for me. It's a decently healthy rose, not the most prolific bloomer. And what I think it suffers from is you have a lot of alternatives to these striped roses. You have something like rock and roll, you have sentimental. And in my opinion, you're probably better off getting rock and roll than Julia Iglesias, because rock and roll is a bit better, I would say. But Julia Iglesias, it will give you some blooms, but it's not the most healthy, and it also has a bit of fragrance to it. So in that way, it redeems itself a bit. But rock and roll also has a very strong fragrance. So wonderful rose, but you can probably find better striped roses. Next up, we have Peace Rose, and Peace Rose is one of those roses I'm a bit in doubt about. It's very significant because it's called Peace because it was invented at the end of World War II. That's where the name Peace comes from, because it was released around the time where you have the ceasefire and the Allied forces won in World War II. You can also get a more what's it called, a more orange colored version of it, a more multicolored version called Chicago Peace. It's not really, both of them are not really fragrant roses, and they can also be a bit sensitive to cold the first year. But they bloom all right, and they have a really unique look, and it's one of the most, if not the most sold rose in the world for a reason. Just don't go expect a lot of fragrance from it, and remember to be a bit careful the first season weather in the ground. Next up, we have Abbe dlooney, and Abbe dlooney is on this list for a reason. It's one of the roses with a very unique color. It's not the most healthy rose always, but it's very special because of the color alone. It is a color it shares with Just Joey rose, and the only reason I'm ranking it a bit lower is because, well, I actually think we'll move it up a spot. But one thing you have to keep in mind with this rose and Just Joey is they're not that cold hardy. You have to really protect them during winter. But if you live in a warm country and want a special color, Abbe dlooney, and also another rose called Just Joey, which is also in the lineage of this rose, are both really good roses to grow for that special color. I'll just go ahead over here and show you the color of Abbe dlooney. Yeah, you can probably see the color I'm talking about. It's almost this salmon color, this very, very light salmon color. It's a color it shares with another rose that's called Just Joey, which is in its parentage. But the problem with both of them is they have this very special color, no other roses have, but they're not that cold hardy. So if it was me and I had to choose, maybe Just Joey and keep it in a pot and move the pot to a very sheltered position during winter. But I'll leave that decision up to you depending on what climate you're in. And while we're in here, let's just see at some of the other roses we put into S tier. You can see a Sweet Mademoiselle here, a really good rose, both for fragrance and for health. And you have Princess Shellen de Monaco. Yeah, you can probably see why I like her so much. This wonderful color change, these little frilled edges, wonderful rose. And then we have Delish, or Sweet Perfume de Provence. Yeah, just look at that. Just look at that. Wonderful fragrance, wonderful health. A wonderful rose, really. And let's just do Jean Moreau. Would you look at that? Those wonderful. It's almost, in my opinion, it's the perfect white rose in its shape. It's also, as I said before, called White Perfume de Provence. But just look at the shape of those flowers. Could you imagine a more perfect white flower shape? As I said again, wonderful fragrance, wonderful flower. Only problem is sometimes the cold hardiness. So, yeah, it's I think we'll do a last one. That's the Eden rose. Yeah, here you can really see what I'm talking about with the Eden rose. This lime color that gets slightly white and then into a more pink color. It's a wonderful, wonderful color change on the rose. And when you have many of them together in different stages of bloom, you achieve a really unique color effect. It's also called Pierre Arditi, as I said, and not fragrant, but the flowers last so long, and it is such a healthy climate that you really can't go wrong with this one. So yeah, I think this was it for the Milan roses. They're wonderful roses. The only problem you sometimes can have with the Milan roses are frost hardiness, because they are French roses. So you have to be really careful already around -15, and when they get down to around -20, you are in the danger zone with a lot of these. The only exception is something like Princess Shellen de Monaco, Eden Rose, Bonka, Leonardo da Vinci, and a lot of these really healthy ones in the assortment. But they are all totally worth growing, just as long as you remember you get wonderful healthy roses, wonderful fragrant roses. You just have to be careful of the frost. But everything except that, Milan roses are absolutely wonderful, and you should grow a lot of them in your garden. Wonderful roses. If I had to pick 3 you should be growing, I would say Princess Shellen de Monaco, Eden Rose, and then it will be a really hard choice for me. It will probably either be Colette or Sweet Mademoiselle, but or Delish. Delish is also really solid. But I have no doubt I can really recommend Princess Shellen de Monaco and Eden Rose to you, and also Delish. Those should probably be the 3 you go with, in all honesty. And Colette, if you need a climate that's not fragrant but really healthy. But really, get Princess Shellen de Monaco and Eden Rose. You won't regret it. You really won't. So yes, that was it for today, and stay tuned on my channel. I'll be doing all the rose breeders, and you'll already find lists with both Tantau, Cordes, and Austin roses, and also historic roses. You'll find a ton of these rankings on my channel. And as we move towards summer now, I'll also be showing you a lot of live footage of the roses. So stay tuned, and also subscribe if you want to see more of these roses in the future. So take care out there, and goodbye.